just overall, where do you see this Gamecocks baseball program fitting in when it comes to the SEC in regards to next year? Because like you said, I'm probably going to be going in with similar expectations and predictions for next season as far as being a 36-win club, 15-15, 16-14 in SEC play. Where do you see them fitting in, and what is the best conference in college baseball by far?
Well, I think you've got a clear 1-2 at the top with Florida and Vanderbilt. I mean, those are just loaded teams that are probably going to be the top two teams in the top 25 in the preseason in some order. Take your pick. And then I think, there's kind of a group of teams. I think LSU, with some of the pitching it's got coming back. Certainly Ole Miss has some exciting young position player talent and some good arms. I mean, those teams feel like maybe that's the next tier. And I could see South Carolina potentially fitting into that tier or just behind it, with the teams like Arkansas, Auburn, A&M, the kind of usual suspects in that league. Tennessee's a little bit of a wild card. I mean, they got off to a really good start this spring. You have to imagine it'll be pretty good again next year. But you're right about how competitive it is, and what was it, just a couple of years ago, Kentucky was in a super regional.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Missouri in the fall, and I thought, wow, these guys are pretty loaded on the mound. They could be dangerous. And they lost, of course, Ian Bedell, their ace, to the draft. But we'll see. I mean, they're kind of interesting with some of the young talent on their roster. So that's not a pushover. And certainly Georgia, talk about loaded with arms.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, even without Emerson Hancock and Cole Wilcox, I love their young power arms, but they need to do some maturing. I think South Carolina, one thing that I really like about them is that they're going to be older. I think that it's a team that now has some experience and some talent. So I just think they're poised to be, I'll be shocked if they're not a regional team next year. You can put that on the board.
I was going to say that's the biggest difference when you were talking about, from a decade ago to now, Aaron. It's just crazy. Because I remember the days where, man, it felt like, Georgia, that's easy win 2 out of 3 or a sweep. Tennessee, easy 2 out of 3 win or a sweep. And, I mean, now it's just everybody's good. I mean, everybody is realistically good. I feel like almost every team in the SEC can go to another conference and compete to win that conference. That's how good everybody is.
Yeah,
it's
you're
crazy.
Right.
It's crazy.
You're right. And I think, certainly the SEC has blown by, the Pac-12, which has more championships historically, but the depth of that league doesn't come anywhere close. And, I'm not going to say you stick Alabama in the Pac-12, they're going to be better than UCLA or Arizona State were this year. Those teams were awesome, both of them. But after that, there's a huge drop-off in the Pac-12, and if you stick Alabama or Kentucky in the Pac, maybe they finish third. I mean, and that's saying something. I think the ACC was stronger this year. I think, on a similar level to the SEC, I mean, you probably still put them a tick behind the SEC, but depth-wise, the ACC was pretty darn deep this year, as deep as probably it's ever been. So I do believe those two conferences have separated themselves. The Big 12, again, you have that kind of soft underbelly with the Kansas schools and everything, but the teams at the top, they need Texas to kind of get back to where it was. When Texas is down, the Big 12 is down. That's kind of the general rule of thumb. So I just think the SEC is one. ACC, I think for me, is a clear number 2 conference these days, and then there's a gap.